The lights flickered in the newsroom, the cameras rolling, capturing every second of what was supposed to be just another ordinary broadcast. But what unfolded next would go down as one of the most shocking moments in live television history. From an armed siege that turned a studio into a battleground to on-air meltdowns that ended careers in an instant, these incidents are the stuff of nightmares. Number 18. Armed takeover. One of the most frightening incidents in live TV broadcasting happened in January 2024 in Ecuador, during a time of intense conflict between criminal gangs and the government. As the country declared a state of emergency, the Ecuadorian news channel TC was broadcasting live updates when viewers suddenly saw armed men storm the studio. What began as a typical news report quickly became a horrifying hostage situation, playing out in real time for millions of viewers. The armed men took control of the newsroom, threatening the terrified anchor and crew. The tension was palpable as a woman's voice pleaded for mercy. "Don't shoot. Please don't shoot." The criminals forced the news anchor to deliver a message on their behalf, attempting to use the powerful medium of live television to further their agenda. For 20 agonizing minutes, the news crew was held hostage, as the entire country watched in shock and horror. This was no ordinary crime. It was a blatant attack on free speech and the role of the press. As the news studio became a battleground, Ecuador's police and military quickly responded, surrounding the TV station. Thankfully, they were able to arrest the armed men without further violence, bringing an end to the terrifying ordeal. The news crew, while shaken, emerged unharmed. Although the criminals were apprehended, this armed takeover was a sobering reminder of how fragile the safety of journalists can be, especially in regions facing unrest. This event, which gripped the nation and the world, will be remembered as one of the scariest live TV moments in recent history. Number 17. Taliban takeover of Afghan TV. In 2021, the Taliban reclaimed control of Afghanistan after 2 decades of U.S. presence. As American troops withdrew, the Taliban swiftly occupied government buildings and seized control of the country's media. One particularly unsettling event took place live on air, leaving viewers across Afghanistan stunned. During a routine broadcast, a news anchor suddenly found himself surrounded by Taliban fighters who had burst into the studio. The anchor was obviously terrified as the militants ordered him to deliver a chilling message, urging Afghan citizens not to flee the country. The tension was unbearable, with the anchor fully aware that one wrong word could cost him his life. This dramatic incident marked the beginning of a broader media crackdown in Afghanistan. Since the incident took place, over 600 media companies have been forced to close, and female news presenters now face stringent regulations, including the mandatory wearing of veils. The once vibrant media landscape has been largely silenced under the new regime. Although the anchor emerged physically unharmed, the memory of that fateful broadcast remains indelible. Number 16. Teenage hijacker in the Netherlands. In January 2015, 19-year-old Tarek Zazous made headlines in the Netherlands after attempting a dramatic hijacking at the NOS television station. Armed with what appeared to be a pistol, he demanded to be taken to the main news studio, claiming he had an urgent message to deliver to the Dutch nation. Quick-thinking security personnel diverted him to an empty studio, where the tense standoff unfolded. In the chilling footage, Zazous declared that very large world affairs were at play, and he claimed to represent a mysterious security force. His calm demeanor gave way to chaos when police burst into the studio, swiftly disarming him. As the sound of his weapon hitting the floor echoed, it was unclear if the gun was real or fake. What followed was a frantic search of the building for explosives, though none were found. After his arrest, investigators worked to piece together his motivations. Zazous claimed to be affiliated with a hackers collective and carried a letter in which he ominously stated that 8 high-explosive devices with radioactive material had been planted across the Netherlands. This sparked fears of a wider plot, though authorities ultimately found no evidence to support his claims. Zazous was taken into custody and faced charges of kidnapping, firearm possession, and threatening with a weapon. His brief brush with infamy has ended, but questions still linger about his true intentions and the shadowy group he claimed to represent. Number 15. Robbery on South African TV. On the evening of March 10, 2015, what was supposed to be a routine live report from Johannesburg quickly turned into a shocking incident broadcast across South African television. A reporter for the South African Broadcasting Corporation, SABC, along with his crew, was robbed by a group of thieves just moments before they were set to go on air. The crew was preparing to report on the arrival of Zambian President Edgar Lungu, who had allegedly come to South Africa for surgery. As the cameras rolled, capturing the live feed, 2 of the 4 thieves suddenly approached the crew. With tension building, one of the assailants demanded that the team hand over their equipment. The reporter, standing in the spotlight for the upcoming broadcast, remained composed, even as the situation grew increasingly dangerous. His calm demeanor broke only when one of the thieves, armed with a gun, was called over by his accomplice with the chilling words, "Shoot this dog." Fearing for his life, the reporter handed over his phone, but the moment was unforgettable. The entire incident was caught on camera and unintentionally broadcast to viewers across the country. While such events rarely unfold live on television, this raw footage highlighted the grim realities of crime in Johannesburg. Despite the trauma, the reporter remained resilient, tweeting later that evening, "I am safe and sound." His words were a relief to viewers who had witnessed the harrowing event unfold. Number 14. Mexico earthquake on live TV. On September 19, 2017, during a routine broadcast on Mexican news, a powerful 7.1 magnitude earthquake struck, and the terrifying moment was captured live on TV. Viewers at home watched in shock as the newsroom set began to sway, lights flickered, and alarms blared in the background. The anchor, trying to maintain composure, urged people to remain calm, but fear was etched across his face. The situation quickly escalated, and he had no choice but to abandon his post, running for his life along with the crew. What made this event so chilling was the raw, unfiltered nature of the broadcast. Earthquakes are not uncommon in Mexico, but it is rare for such a catastrophe to be televised in real time. The immediacy of the footage brought the devastation directly into people's living rooms, forcing viewers to confront the magnitude of the disaster. In the aftermath, the toll was heartbreaking. The quake claimed the lives of 361 people and left another 6,000 injured. Buildings collapsed, roads split open, and communities were thrown into chaos. Number 13. Los Angeles earthquake. One early morning in 2014, everything seemed business as usual for 2 news anchors reporting live. But then, without warning, the entire set began to shake violently. The male anchor's face froze in shock as he shouted, "We're having an earthquake! Earthquake! We're having an earthquake!" The tremors grew stronger, and the anchors instinctively ducked under their desk for cover, while the rest of the crew scrambled away from the scene in panic. Later, one of the reporters shared that it was the most powerful earthquake he had ever felt while on air. While earthquakes are a regular occurrence in Los Angeles, this one was different. It left a lasting impression on everyone in the studio. Above the anchors, more than 300 heavy lights, some weighing as much as 25 pounds, swayed dangerously. Just the thought of one of those lights crashing down was terrifying. It could have caused serious injury or even worse. But thanks to their quick thinking and fast reactions, the anchors emerged unharmed, grateful to have made it through safely. Number 12. Jack Parr's angry resignation. Jack Parr's dramatic resignation in 1960 remains one of the most memorable moments in television history, a testament to his unpredictable nature and the raw emotion he brought to late-night TV. Known for hosting Tonight Starring Jack Parr from 1957 to 1962, Parr turned the quiet hours of the late night into a stage for wit, humor, and sometimes controversy. Broadcast from Studio 6B at 40 Rockefeller Plaza, the show was the predecessor to The Tonight Show we know today. The incident that sparked his resignation occurred on February 10, 1960. Parr had told a joke involving a woman's confusion over the term WC, which she meant as water closet, a bathroom, but a recipient hilariously misinterpreted it as Wayside Chapel, a church. NBC censors, without notifying Parr, cut the joke from the broadcast, replacing it with a news bulletin. Feeling blindsided and disrespected, Parr dramatically walked off the show the following night, with little more than a curt announcement, "I am leaving The Tonight Show. There must be a better way of making a living than this." Parr left the stage mid-broadcast, leaving his announcer, Hugh Downs, to awkwardly finish the show. Parr's sudden departure became a national news story, with many wondering if he would ever return. After a 3-week break, during which he traveled abroad, Parr made a triumphant return on March 7, 1960. Walking on stage with his signature wit, he quipped, "As I was saying before I was interrupted." The audience roared with laughter, and Parr followed with, "I've looked, and there isn't," referring to his earlier comment about finding a better way to make a living. The moment was pure Jack Parr, irreverent, bold, and captivating. Number 11. Rick Sanchez's anti-Semitic remarks. Rick Sanchez, a popular anchor known for his roles at local Miami stations and later CNN, found himself embroiled in controversy after making anti-Semitic remarks. Sanchez, who had risen to prominence with his engaging style and dynamic presence on television, was no stranger to bold commentary. However, his career took a sharp turn when he targeted comedian Jon Stewart with comments that many found offensive and rooted in stereotypes. The incident in question unfolded during a radio interview where Sanchez accused Stewart, a Jewish comedian and political commentator, of being a bigot and implied that Stewart's success in media was tied to his Jewish background. Sanchez further claimed that CNN and other major networks were run by elite Northeast liberals with Jewish influence, suggesting that he had been marginalized in his career because of his Hispanic heritage. Sanchez's remarks were met with immediate backlash, sparking debates about anti-Semitism, prejudice in the media, and the challenges faced by minorities in the industry. His comments, widely regarded as inappropriate and divisive, led to his swift dismissal from CNN, signaling a significant downfall for the once prominent anchor. This controversy became a defining moment in Sanchez's career, overshadowing his previous accomplishments and drawing attention to the complexities of race, ethnicity, and power in American media. The incident also served as a warning about the dangers of perpetuating harmful stereotypes, especially in such a public and influential role. Despite his efforts to explain his comments, Sanchez's reputation suffered, and his career in mainstream media never fully recovered. Number 10. Chris Cuomo's involvement in Brothers' defense. Chris Cuomo, once a star anchor at CNN with one of the highest-rated shows, faced a dramatic fall from grace after stepping into the controversy surrounding his brother, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. The former governor had been accused of inappropriate behavior by several women over his long political career. One woman recounted that the governor kissed her during a private briefing in his office and repeatedly crossed physical boundaries in ways that made her uncomfortable. When the allegations against his brother surfaced, Chris chose not to cover the story on his primetime show, citing a clear conflict of interest. He stated, "I didn't cover my brother's troubles because I had a conflict, and CNN's rules are strict about that." But behind the scenes, Chris was doing more than staying silent. An investigation by the New York Attorney General revealed that he had been secretly helping his brother's team defend against the accusations. He used his media connections to gather information on the accusers and even advised Andrew Cuomo's defense team on strategy. As the investigation came to light, CNN initially suspended Chris, but by December 2021, they decided to let him go for good. Despite his defense, "I know where the line is. I can respect it while still supporting my family, which I have to do." The network concluded that he had crossed an important ethical boundary. His actions conflicted with CNN's journalistic standards, and what began as an attempt to stand by his family ultimately cost Chris his career at the network, leaving him to navigate the consequences of choosing loyalty over professional duty. Number 9. Bill O'Reilly's departure from Fox News. Bill O'Reilly, once one of the most prominent faces in cable news, found himself at a sudden and dramatic crossroads when he parted ways with Fox News in April 2017. O'Reilly, known for his popular show The O'Reilly Factor, had been a fixture on the network since 1996. His show became a dominant force in cable news, even achieving the distinction of being the most watched news program on cable by 2009. Much of this success stemmed from O'Reilly's straightforward and sometimes polarizing style, which he coined as the no-spin zone. His brand of conservative commentary attracted a large and loyal audience, making him a significant figure in the media landscape. However, O'Reilly's tenure at Fox came to an abrupt end amid a wave of sexual harassment allegations. Although O'Reilly denied any wrongdoing, a New York Times investigation revealed that at least 5 women had been paid $13 million in settlements, leading to a flood of advertiser boycotts. As major companies pulled their ads from The O'Reilly Factor, the network faced mounting financial pressure. After a third-party investigation, Fox News decided to sever ties with O'Reilly. Despite his controversial departure, O'Reilly's influence remained undeniable. His exit left a void at Fox News, with some speculating that the network's primetime ratings could drop by as much as 25%. Number 8. Charlie Rose and the Me Too movement. Charlie Rose, a renowned TV journalist with over 4 decades of experience, built a highly respected career, becoming a familiar face across multiple networks. But in 2017, everything he had worked for unraveled with shocking speed in the wake of the Me Too movement. In November of that year, The Washington Post published an explosive article that exposed multiple allegations of sexual misconduct against the celebrated host. Most of the women who came forward had worked for him early in their careers, deciding to speak out at huge personal and professional risk after years of enduring his behavior in silence. Gina Riggi, Rose's longtime makeup artist, offered one of the most harrowing accounts. 22 years, she worked behind the scenes on The Charlie Rose Show, all the while enduring what she described as demeaning and abusive treatment. Rose's studio, she claimed, had become a sexual hunting ground where he targeted young women with misogynistic remarks and humiliating comments about their appearance. Riggi recounted how she had to shield herself from his advances on set using a hand mirror as a physical barrier. According to the complaints, Rose often pursued women in settings outside the studio, at his Manhattan and Hamptons homes, and at chic restaurants where he hosted staff dinners. He allegedly preyed on attractive young women just starting in journalism, enticing them with promises of internships and career opportunities. These interactions frequently took place over drinks and dinner, under the guise of professional mentoring. Riggi also revealed a disturbing incident where, during an off-site taping, Rose became irate during a makeup session, violently grabbing and twisting her arm, leaving her in pain. Despite her attempts to report his behavior to supervisors, her complaints were met with silence, forcing her to resort to self-defense tactics on set. Within a day of the article's release, Charlie Rose's shows were put on hold, and he was swiftly removed from his anchor roles. Rose issued a public apology, acknowledging some of his wrongdoing, but also attempting to downplay the severity of the allegations. "I deeply apologize for my inappropriate behavior," he said. "I am greatly embarrassed. I have behaved insensitively at times, and I accept responsibility for that." However, when faced with a lawsuit in Manhattan State Court, Rose's attorney denied the claims, dismissing them as more suitable for tabloid headlines than legal proceedings. Number 7. Matt Lauer's firing. Matt Lauer spent 20 years as a familiar face on NBC's Today Show, where he became one of the most well-known personalities on morning television. He covered everything from presidential interviews to the Olympic Games, earning an enormous salary and traveling the world. Viewers came to trust him as a steady presence in their mornings, and his work left a lasting impression on the show. Lauer once reflected on his time at Today, saying he had always been calm, but after sharing personal stories with his colleagues, he felt overwhelmed by emotion and filled with joy. But in November 2017, everything changed. Lauer's career came crashing down when NBC decided to fire him after a female colleague accused him of inappropriate behavior. What started as one allegation quickly grew, with more women coming forward and reports surfacing that NBC might have ignored his actions for years. The network confirmed that Lauer was dismissed due to accusations of sexual misconduct. The news shocked those who had followed his career, as Lauer had been a trusted figure in the industry for 2 decades. After his firing, Lauer expressed embarrassment and regret, though he denied some of the claims against him. His rapid downfall marked a bitter end to his long-standing role as one of America's most prominent morning show hosts. Number 6. Ed Henry's scandal. In 2020, Ed Henry, a prominent former Fox News anchor, became the center of a major scandal involving allegations of sexual misconduct. The controversy erupted when several women came forward with serious claims against Henry, leading to his termination from Fox News. This decision was confirmed in an internal memo by Fox News Media CEO Suzanne Scott and President and Executive Editor Jay Wallace, who emphasized their commitment to transparency and a safe workplace for all employees. The scandal deepened with a joint lawsuit filed by 6 women, including former Fox News producer Jennifer Eckhart and journalist Kathy Aru. Eckhart's lawsuit alleged that Henry's misconduct was well known within the network, with claims that Fox Business anchor Liz Clayman acknowledged Henry's reputation as a sex addict. The lawsuit also featured accusations from Roxy Marican and Brooke Hammerling, who alleged that Henry's behavior included intimidation and unwanted advances. Marican's claim involved Henry hiring a private investigator to follow and investigate her after an encounter, while Hammerling asserted that Henry made inappropriate sexual advances shortly after their first meeting. Despite these serious allegations, Fox News publicly denied any prior knowledge of the misconduct before Eckhart's lawsuit. The scandal rocked Fox News, leading to a rotation of anchors in Henry's former slot as the network searched for a permanent replacement. Number 5. Eric Bolling's misconduct allegations. Eric Bolling, a well-known conservative commentator and TV host, started his television journey as a financial analyst on the business news channel Fast Money. In the late 2000s, he moved to Fox Business Network, where he became a familiar face on The Five. However, in September 2017, Bolling's career hit a major setback when HuffPost released a report accusing him of misconduct. The article alleged that Bolling had sent inappropriate pictures and text messages to several female colleagues. Although Bolling quickly denied these claims, Fox Business Network suspended him during the investigation. About a month later, he was let go, and his show was canceled. In his defense, Bolling stated, "My wife of 20 years and I are completely on board, on the same page, and I've never done anything like that." Number 4. Midweather pass out. In March 2023, viewers of CBS Los Angeles were startled by a dramatic live television moment. Meteorologist Alyssa Carlson fainted on air just as she was about to deliver her weather forecast. The incident, which occurred during the KCAL news broadcast, quickly became a topic of concern. When Carlson suddenly collapsed in the studio, both colleagues and viewers became anxious about her well-being. Fortunately, Alyssa Carlson was soon evaluated at a hospital, and as it turned out, was in stable condition. She appeared later to reassure everyone, explaining the situation. Carlson revealed that she had been feeling unwell before the broadcast, experiencing nausea and dizziness, likely due to dehydration and a lack of breakfast. Despite these signs, she attempted to push through, a decision she later regretted. Dr. John Lapu, CBS News' chief medical correspondent, joined Carlson on set to shed light on her condition. Carlson had previously been diagnosed with a leaky heart valve, which initially raised concerns about a possible heart attack. However, tests confirmed that her heart was healthy. Instead, Carlson experienced a case of vasovagal syncope, a condition where overstimulation of the vagus nerve causes a sudden drop in heart rate and blood pressure, leading to fainting. Dr. Lapu explained that symptoms of vasovagal syncope include dizziness, tunnel vision, and sweating, which can precede fainting. Carlson admitted that she noticed these signs but chose to continue with the broadcast rather than sit down and avoid the risk of falling. Carlson, who is also a health coach, emphasized the importance of staying hydrated, getting enough rest, and listening to one's body. She reflected on the incident as a reminder to prioritize self-care, even for those who are dedicated to helping others. Number 3. Natasha Exelby's on-air distraction. In 2017, Australian news anchor Natasha Exelby became the center of a media storm, not for her reporting, but for an unexpected lapse in concentration. During a live broadcast, Natasha was caught on camera daydreaming, momentarily lost in thought as the camera panned back to her. When she snapped out of it, she quickly recovered, but the damage was done. The incident led to her dismissal from the station, igniting a wave of public outrage. Viewers were less upset about the slip itself, and more incensed by the station's decision to fire Natasha. Many felt the reaction was an overreach, arguing that firing her for such a minor mistake was unjust. Natasha, with her usual grace, addressed the controversy with humor on Twitter, thanking supporters and acknowledging the awkward moment with a lighthearted message. Despite the station's decision, public sentiment largely sided with Natasha, feeling that her error was a small, human moment that shouldn't have cost her job. The incident sparked a broader discussion about the expectations of perfection in live broadcasting and the pressures faced by news professionals. Number 2. Spreading hate, Bob Beckel. Bob Beckel, who sadly passed away, was a familiar face on Fox News as a co-host of The Five from 2011 to 2015. His time on the show was marked by several controversial remarks, some of which were directed at Muslims and Asian Americans. Beckel first left the program after missing several months due to back surgery. He was later reinstated, but his return was short-lived. He was dismissed again after making racially insensitive comments to an African-American employee. At a time when Fox News was already dealing with several high-profile harassment cases, the network chose to let Beckel go for good to avoid further scandal. Attorney Douglas Wigdor, who represents a black IT worker and nearly 24 other Fox News employees suing for racial discrimination, recounted a troubling incident involving Beckel. Wigdor reported that Beckel became enraged when a black IT employee came to his office to fix his computer, and he left the office, citing the employee's race as the reason. Mr. Beckel abruptly left his office when our client, a black IT employee, arrived to service his computer, saying he was leaving simply because the employee is black, Wigdor explained. The situation worsened when Beckel, in the presence of Chief Human Resource Officer Kevin Lord, tried to intimidate the IT worker into retracting his complaint. When the worker refused, Fox News allegedly tried to downplay the incident by leaking the story on a Friday to minimize media attention and failed to provide accurate details about the incident and Beckel's attempt to influence the worker. Wigdor added, "Like with our other clients, we plan to hold 21st Century Fox accountable for these actions and will be filing additional complaints soon." Number 1. On-air stroke. One bright morning in Oklahoma, Julie Chin, a familiar face on the local news, was presenting the day's stories as usual. But something unusual began to happen. Her words started to slur, and at first, it seemed like just a minor error. However, as she continued speaking, it became clear that something was seriously amiss. Julie struggled to speak, and then suddenly, she lost vision in one eye. Realizing she couldn't continue, she bravely admitted on air that she was unable to proceed. Moments before, Julie had been her usual cheerful self, but it soon became apparent she was experiencing a stroke live on television. Her colleagues, quick to notice the distress, immediately called 911. Viewers, who also noticed that something was wrong, reached out to the station to warn them of the possible medical emergency. Julie was rushed to the hospital, where she received prompt treatment and thankfully recovered. It's truly astounding how Julie managed to stay composed and professional despite the severity of her condition. The swift response from both her team and the vigilant viewers likely played a vital role in ensuring her safety and recovery. What do you think about TV anchors and reporters being fired for making mistakes? Let us know your opinion in the comments below.